Alright, you bastards, this is Some-Belgian-prepper, and today I want to talk how you, as a prepper, a survivalist, can test and see what your limits are. And in this case, I'm going to talk about something that I did a few days ago, and it's called the Spartacus run. But before we do that, we're going to talk further. If you're interested in detective stories, in the description there will be a link to my book called Bloody Crosses. It's the first one, and it's in Dutch. If you're interested, I would say take a look. So the Spartacus run. That is some sport event that is 10 kilometers long, and it's also an obstacle course. So, and it's also in the outdoors. It's you get soaking wet because you go also in water, in mud, and it's a very hard um run. But I'm glad that I've done it with my friends. But I've learned a lot from this Spartacus run, because yeah, I'm going to talk about this. You test so many things that you will need as a prepper, and you will start to learn yourself not only physically but also mentally. So I'm going to tell you about this stuff. Um, First of all is the physique test. During this Spartacus run, like I said, an obstacle course, a course of 10 kilometers long. I don't know how much that is a mile, but it's a good way to see how your physique is. And I learned a lot of what I can do good and what my downsides are. My good side is running, no problem. I can run a marathon, although you wouldn't say it, but that's no problem. The only thing that I had problems was with climbing above things, because I go to the gym every day. I'm not that weak, but the problem is because I've in the last year I've built so much muscle mass that I can lift things easily from down, but lifting myself up, I have not been training on that for that particularly. So for climbing over a wall, pushing my over and to pull a swing over a leg, that was often a big problem for me. So with that, I needed some help, but we're going to that point later. So yeah, if you want to test your physique, to see where you stand, it's just like a basic military training, in just to say. So yeah, it's something that you can learn from it. The next thing is you learn bravery. I know this might sound, it's just a sport event, but there were certain obstacles that tested a little bit of my particular fears, but also from other people's fear. What am I talking about? In my personal case, I don't like heights. Climbing a mountain, certain mountains, no problem. I can stand on a mountain and look down, no problem. But to stand on something very small, structure, or hanging on a rope from a very high, for me that's brings in a irrational fear in a way, because I know in my mind, I know there's a small chance that something will happen, but my body says don't fucking do it. So there was a certain point where you had to jump from like 13 meters down, straight down into water. But yeah, I've done this in a few months ago in France, where it was 50 meters, and I was so scared. The moment you look over the edge and you know I'm going to jump down, that brings a sort of fear in me. But I'm glad that I done it without even being pushed from it. So yeah, because it was a certain small area that you had to jump, land just right in it from 30 meters. So yeah, it was, for me, that was the most favorable thing, because when I got out, the adrenaline started to rush through me, and that weakened my muscles, which was a problem for the next obstacles. So that's something that I learned from it. For other people that I've witnessed, is there are certain parts that you have to go under obstacles, underwater, for certain times, or jump into water. And some people who don't know, who are not good swimmers, or who are scared to go fully underwater, under cold water, by the way. uh, I've seen some people who have been fearful for that because they are scared they are drowning, or they have claustrophobia, and that's another thing. There were also particle parts of the obstacle course that have like very small tunnels, like only this big, and you have to crawl through it for a certain period of time. And I've seen some people with who are claustrophobia, who went through it. So even though they had just the same thing like me, when they got out of it, their heart and their adrenaline were pumping like crazy. So that's another thing that for some people could nudge them their edge or know their limits. Another thing is social anxiety. I know it's a sport event, but there were like 13,000 people in total, a lot of people and a lot of noise. So for people who have social anxiety, that I can see how for such people it could be a very scary experience. So yeah, I think that some people were there like that, and there were some other fear things like you had to crawl under barbed wire, and there were also like the barbed wire, like in the military, you have to crawl under. There was also an obstacle with electrical wire that you have to crawl under, but I only learned this afterwards. They set the electricity off because it was raining. So yeah, but we still thought there was electricity, but they only told us afterwards that they have put it off. All right, and next thing is endurance. Like I said, it was 10 kilometers, and you learn to endure not only your physical limits but also pain. Like running the 10 kilometers. If you're going to do that, you can learn that endurance. You can learn endurance from the cold because it was very cold today. From running through water and mud. For some people, that's something that they will not endure that long, but it's something that you had to do. Thirst, hunger, because there were only two. I think there were 2 points where they give you a glass of water that you can drink and just put it down. But yeah, for some people they will, especially if this was in more summertime conditions. Yeah, that could be a little bit more problematic. I saw one person who I know this person, and when they get hungry, they get really cranky. But what I noticed was they endured the hunger because they were encouraged by other people around them and their friends, and also because they had to focus on the obstacles. So yeah, that's a way to handle endurance. So endurance is one of those things that you learn from it. Uh, Patience. I know this might sound stupid, but there were certain obstacles where, yeah, because a lot of people were there, that they started to clock because there were only three people at the same time, and there were like sometimes 30 people waiting for it. So when you're fully wet, cold, in the rain, and you have to stay warm, yeah, that could be a little bit damaging to your morale and to your body heat. So yeah, patience is also something that could be handy for a prepper to learn, because we noticed that while we were waiting, some persons, even whole groups, thought, "Fuck it, we're not going to wait for this. We're going to the next obstacle," but they never came back. So yeah, those people they did not had the patience. So yeah, imagine during a survival situation how they would handle it. Next thing is limits. Yeah, I've learned some of my limits, and like I said before, my biggest limits were three things: uh, climbing over walls, because I'm a rather big guy, not as in I'm a little bit fat, but I also have a lot of muscles that I got from going to the gym every day. So yeah, climbing over a wall with wet shoes full of mud, with slippery hands, a whole wet wall full of mud and water. Yeah, that was from one of my points that I needed help from other people's, which I will talk in a minute. Climbing over how do you call this kind of how do you say this, tree stems, yeah, let's say it's like a tree that hangs high above. You have to climb over it, and it's the same thing like the wall. I had a problem getting over it because I always slipped around it, and had problem with getting my weight all above so I can climb swing one leg over. So yeah. And the last thing that I had trouble with, and this was more later in the run, was rope climbing. And yeah, I was never a big rope climber, even when I do the technique with my feet, because it was at the end. I was very cold. I was full of like I talked before, full of adrenaline from jumping from high in the water. And yeah, climbing that rope, I only got through the half of it, and I could not ring the bell. So yeah, those are my weaknesses to say. So, but what I want to say with these limits that I'm talking about, because for some people other things will be their limits, is do what you learn, what you are good at, and learn what you're bad at, so you can adapt your tactic or the next course of situation more to what your body and your mental are adapted to, so that you can make the right decisions and will not underestimate or overestimate yourself, is what I'm trying to say with this. Next thing is teamwork. Like I said before, climb over the wall was for me very hard. So I had to, because I did not want to quit by going. They call it the chicken lane, by going just around the obstacle. I wanted to do the obstacle, but even though I could not reach all above it, if one of my friends gave me a little push, and I got over it. So this run also learned you some teamwork, and it's not only teamwork in the physical obstacles, like some people needed some help with getting over the obstacle like me. There were also the motivational part of teamwork, because some people were scared to go through the tunnels, like I said before, claustrophobia. Some people were hungry and they started to get cranky, but if you are with a group that you like me with my friends, we talked to each other, we gave each other some courage, some encouragement, we gave each other some motivation when we struggled, and we never when we always stayed together to get through every obstacle, even though some people had with certain obstacles some problems. And like with the person that was cranky when they are hungry, you do not want to be a little bit cranky to the whole group. In such a situation, you have to keep strong, and that is also a form of motivation, in my opinion. So yeah, teamwork was also a big thing that you can learn from this kind of runs. And the next thing is the humbling aspect. What do I mean by that? Because there were, like I said, there were 13,000 people, and some people were just beasts. They were just running all the way. They went through every obstacle like it was nothing, and that's something that can give you some encouragement. So I want to be like that person, to better yourself, and also give me some respect for certain people in certain professions like the military, that they have to do these kind of things daily. So yeah, it's a little bit humbling that you can say, yeah, I'm maybe not the best, but I want to be like that. I want to be like that person, or strive to be that person. So I want to better myself, and that's or to say, yeah, I'm at this level, but those things I cannot do, and I'm having peace with that. That's a little bit the humbling part that I'm talking about. And the last part is focus. Um, the focus, like getting over certain obstacles, you need some precision, timing, and you need to calculate certain things, because there was this mountain, but because it rained so much, this was like this layer of mud, wet mud and clay. And yeah, you had to focus to, how do I get up the mountain without falling and taking 10 persons with me. You had to focus to get every plant that you can get a hold on, every tree stump that is over there, every perhaps wet rope that you can find, perhaps focus that somebody else is giving you a hand to get over, or every dry part, if there was a dry part, or every rock. You had to focus to find a way to get over the obstacle in certain times. And sometimes the timing, because there were certain obstacles like with a rope, like Tarzan, that you had to get over water and get into a net without falling into the water, and that needed some timing. Because some persons did not have good timing, because I went over the wall like Tarzan, and I was hanging there because it was a high thing, I was a little bit slower. But the persons, they did not have the focus to think, oh, that person is not going up high enough, and he slammed against me while I was still hanging there onto the net, and that person almost fell into the water. So those what I mean by focus. And one of the best things that I found was the lack of smartphones. It was just amazing, because you go through water, mud, fully body into water and ice, and nobody could take their smartphones. It's perhaps stupid to say, but I found it so amazing to see all these people going through obstacles and a hard time, or doing something in group, without taking selfies, without being on a phone or something. It was, for these modern times, it was good to see such situations. You see people more motivated, you see people more working in team without the distraction of a smartphone or social media, and that's something that amazed me. Yeah, and that was also the focus part that I'm talking about. So yeah, I would say if you are a prepper, survivalist, I would say do one of these. Put yourself, learn your limits, learn all these things about your body, your physical aspects, your endurance, your mental, psychological, your social aspects. You can learn them at these kind of runs, and I would say do them, and you will become a better person after it. And yeah, if you have any experience with this, please let me know in the comments what you did, perhaps in the military, perhaps during a sort of uh, run like this, or obstacle thing, or some other sport event. Please let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, all the good stuff, and thank you for watching, and see you in the next video. Cheers.